AskReddit by Jack has smelly socks. What did your crush do that completely ruined your infatuation for them? Got arrested for being a child molester, no previous signs. Edited to say arrested for being instead of convicted as. Yeah, that'll definitely do it. Participated in the murder of a homeless man. Holy shit, why? Dodged a nuclear missile there. Not listening whenever I would share a hobby of mine but insisting me into listening to theirs. We went somewhere and she and her friends pulled into all 3 handicapped parking spaces. There were plenty of other spots, but these were the closest. None of them were handicapped in any way. Everyone does it, she said. No, they do not. If everyone does it, then those spaces wouldn't have been open in the first place. This post made me remember a really hurtful one. When I was 17 at my first year at uni, I made friends with a girl in my year. It wasn't like instant crush, but she was funny and I grew to like her. One day we were going home after classes together. Turns out we lived pretty close to each other, chatting and joking. And at one moment she says, "I really like talking to you just about anything. I would have jumped you right now if you weren't so ugly." I was a really awkward teenager, severely underweight, skin problems and some other complexes. On top of that, very introverted, so it outright killed my remaining self-esteem. Thing is that she actually didn't realize the effect of her words. It was like a passing comment to her and wasn't said with malicious intent. That fact actually made these words even more hurtful. Casual and thoughtlessly cruel. I'm sure that hurt like hell, but you certainly dodged a bullet. Tried to pour vodka into my drink when I wasn't looking. Same thing happened to me. Too bad the guy was an idiot and didn't get very far after that. Told me that the reason she hung around me was to get close to my very tall best friend. They dated for 3 weeks before he dumped her. Bro. I'm sorry, but that's kind of funny. Not that she and your friend did that to you, but how it ended for her. We talked about excess. She mentioned how she should have cheated on him because he was boring to be with. Yeah, I'm out. Had a similar issue where a friend said she should have cheated on her boyfriend since he was so boring, and then complained that he liked a bunch of nerdy things like D&D, fantasy novels, and Star Wars. When she realized that those were all things I liked, she kept trying to insist that I was somehow different from him. I didn't see how, since he was also more popular and better looking than me. Pretty much ended our friendship too. She mentioned her last name. I recognized it. Haha. It's probably a good thing. Found out her grandmother was my grandfather's older sister. It worked out okay. We were on a double date sort of deal with her friend and my friend. We found that out pretty early in the night. We literally laughed our asses off for 15 minutes, making incest jokes and traded dates. I ended up dating her friend for about 4 years. My friend and her ex found out that they were 5th cousins a few months into the relationship. They are both related to a Southern Civil War general, General Armistead, and they both use that as a fun fact. So when one of them brought it up, it got a tad awkward. But then they figured that being 5th cousins was enough distance. Broke up for other reasons eventually. I figured out he was dating me and 2 other girls and playing each other against us. One night at a party, one of the other girls wanted to fight. Honestly, I was drunk and tired and was getting in my friend's car to leave when she tried to start a fight with me over him. I just said, "Tell your friends we got in a fight and you won. Also, you can have him." I got in the car and went home to bed. That was the day I decided I would never fight over a guy. If he wants to be with me, he will be with me. Met a girl on a dating app. She wanted to meet at a club near me. I suggested coffee, but whatever. Show up and she's talking to a guy. Say hi. Learn she invited us both to see which she'd prefer and watch us compete. We both say, Fuck that. I buy him a beer and we both go back over to my friends and hang out. Cool dude. He was rude and dismissive to my little brother. I know little brothers can be annoying, but he, brother, 13, wasn't being nosy or disrespectful. He just wanted to know if my crush liked video games. I'm also really close to my siblings and wanted them to be included. The next boyfriend I had, now husband, spent hours teaching my little brother to play old school StarCraft, and to this day 6 years later they still play video games together at least once a week. Upgrades, people. Edit, a word. Damn, that husband sounds like an awesome bloke, and the kind of person I wanna be. I have a crush on a girl who's got a younger brother, and I do kinda wanna have that kinda friendship with him. Turns out she had absolutely no filter. She took pride in saying what was on her mind, which was kind of cute at first, until I realized that she literally meant it. Every thought in her head spewed out of her mouth, no matter who could hear it. Not a day went by where she didn't get into an argument with someone over some insensitive or insulting comment that she made. She was the female embodiment of Larry David in Curb Your Enthusiasm. Tore up the only ever Valentine's card I ever gave. I was 14/15, in front of me, and laughed. Ouch. I'm sorry you had to face that at a young age. Turns out that if you wanna be my lover, you should not get with my friends. I thought that's how we make it last forever. He called me a whore for wanting to hug him. I got called a whore multiple times for not wanting to sleep with a man. I always wonder if these kind of people know the definition of that word. Noticed an attractive woman a few times at a local hangout spot. One evening we struck up a conversation. This led to a series of casual hookups. We'd usually meet somewhere, which kept it light and casual. One night she invited me to her place. Pretty quickly I realized that this was the home of a married couple pictures, etc. I asked if she was married and she said yes, but it was okay because he was out of town on a fishing trip. I'm not a saint, but it really bothered me because I didn't consent to have an affair with a married woman. I noped out of there and didn't look back. I've been used this way a few times. Feels awful finding out that someone is using you to cheat on their spouse. We were hanging out in a neighborhood with a group and she found a dead dog. Without hesitating she picked up a stick and started to sodomize the poor creature. I left immediately. Excuse me ? Fuck her cousin and have a baby with him. Wait, did that happen for real or is this a joke? Had someone else's kid and played it off as mine the whole pregnancy. Fleeced my dying grandfather for thousands of dollars worth of homemade, he was a carpenter, baby furniture. Ran off with it all after the kid was born, too. Came home from work and everything was gone. I hope bad things happen to her, but not to the kid. Married someone else. Yeah, that'll do it. Made fun of me with their friends after I told them I was crushing on them. He wanted to abuse animals with Emmy and he was a porn addict. I feel extremely disgusted when I think about it. There's a girl at my job who I think is actually a psychopath. She has admitted to killing rodents and told this guy she was obsessed with she would kill animals for him. She also hisses at people who come near her. How she still works there completely baffles me. Asked for my number to set me up with her friend. True wing woman. This might sound dumb, but I was dating someone briefly several years ago that I had a red flag moment and walked away. We had only gone on a few dates and hadn't become intimate yet. He came to my house when I had just bought my first car and he sat on the hood. I asked him not to do that, and he just laughed. After a few more times asking and him blatantly ignoring me and mocking me, I dropped him. If he couldn't even manage respecting such a small boundary, I wasn't interested in giving him a chance not to respect others. Not a dumb move. Very smart. He also may have been testing to see if you'd let him push your boundaries. You probably dodged a bullet, imho. He told you who he was. You believed him. Giving my friend HIV. I was totally infatuated with this older guy in high school. Later heard that he and a couple other guys, including my autistic friend, were going to go to McDonald's after school one day, and they did the thing where every time he got close to the car door handle they'd drive away a little bit, eventually leaving him entirely. That is infuriating. I'm glad you found that out just for the sake of knowing to steer clear of that guy. The girl he was going to prom with went from long hair to a pixie cut and he got mad and called her a slur. Completely changed my impression of him as a person. During lunch at school one day, she asked for my help in putting on a necklace. She couldn't latch the clasp onto the chain. As I was in the middle of securing the clasp, she shouted out for the whole room to hear, "EWW, Haru 24, get your disgusting hands off of me. What are you doing? Never lost interest in someone so fast in my life." Honest question, how should you respond to this situation? Had this guy I had been crushing on for years. Flirted with him every time I saw him, pretty much made it really clear I was interested. He flirted back enough that I figured sooner or later he would ask me out. No. Instead he asked me if I thought my sister liked him and if I would give him her phone number. Proceeded to make a comment about how hot my sister still was for a woman over 40 with 4 kids. She's a widow. Which made it pretty clear to me that he wasn't attracted to me at all. Cried over it for days, then realized he wasn't worth it and that was the end of it. Must admit I was glad my sister wasn't interested in him though. It would have been hard to deal with had she ended up getting involved with him. We had made plans for Halloween. We were supposed to go to a club and meet some friends. She ended up saying she was sick and stayed home. About a week later, I'm going to drop her off at her house and she told me what she really did on Halloween. She went to a different club with her friends, not ours. There was plenty of other issues in the relationship, but that one truth is what made me snap. I just dropped her off without saying anything, and a few days later broke up with her. I don't think she even cheated, just too much lying and manipulation. I dated a girl that would pull this kinda crap rather frequently. Nothing destroys a relationship quicker than a total lack of trust.